I think that personally, that the idea of completely unconditional aid, no matter what one does not make sense. I think it enabled a genocide in Gaza, and I think that we have thousands of women and children dead that was completely avoidable.
That was Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez speaking on a panel at the Munich Security Conference. And since she called a genocide exactly what it is, a genocide, well, that drew the ire of individuals who provide cover for Israel's genocide. So before we get to more details on this story, including those who are losing their minds over what AOC had to say there, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, I'm only gonna say 2 things. One, that was infinitely better than our answer on Taiwan. We'll get back to that in a second. Anna was apparently involved in a controversy over it today. Anna, I don't know if you saw that, but there's some articles about that. And then, but on this issue, as Anna's reading the names of the people who are outraged by AOC's perfectly normal answer, understand that every single one of them works for Israel and is here to lie to you and betray you for another country. So go ahead, Anna.
Well, I mean, look, when it comes to Rupert Murdoch, who loves to provide cover for Israel and defend everything that that foreign country wants to do, you can see the Murdoch influence in his publication. So let's start with the New York Post, which shared this headline: AOC accuses Israel of genocide while in Germany, the home of the Holocaust. Shocking ignorance. Okay. I don't know if anyone has caught on to this yet, but Germany is so ashamed of its role in the Holocaust that it enables Israel at every turn, okay? It's not Nazi Germany, okay? The days of Nazi Germany are long gone, it's over. So who gives a damn if AOC tells the truth about what Israel is engaging in Gaza, while at the Munich Security Conference in Germany?
Yeah, I think that you should say it in Germany even more. So we said never again, and we said never again after what the Germans did during the Holocaust. I hope every decent human being is horrified by what happened in the Holocaust. And now, if you're going to condemn another genocide, Germany's the perfect place to do it. Does Israel think they get a free pass on genocides?
They do, they definitely do.
Okay.
Absolutely. Another headline, this one's from Fox News. AOC accuses Israel of genocide in Germany, where Holocaust was launched, sparking outrage. Look, the only people who are outraged are those you would expect to be outraged. Again, individuals who are totally fine with the mass slaughter of innocents in Gaza, people who are totally okay with Israel annexing land in the West Bank, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Jordan. These are people who prioritize Israel and its interests over what is best for humanity, number one, and what's best for the American people. Now, in reality, Israel is and has been carrying out a genocide against the Palestinian people. In fact, here is Israeli-British historian Avi Shleim explaining why.
Under Netanyahu's leadership, Israel has also committed the crime of all crimes, genocide. Genocide is not just a legal concept, but a fundamentally moral issue. It is the denial of the right to exist of a whole group of people. Israel's national identity is inextricably linked with the Holocaust. But Israel is no longer the victim, if it has ever been. Whereas in the Second World War, the Jews were the defenseless victims of Nazi Germany. Today, it's the Palestinians who are the defenseless victims of the Jewish state.
Obviously, it's incredibly powerful to hear that from an Israeli, someone who is worried about human rights for everyone. But on top of that, let's not forget the several human rights, humanitarian, and legal organizations that have also determined what has gone down in Gaza as a genocide. That includes the Lemkin Institute for Genocide Prevention, Genocide Watch, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, Doctors Without Borders, the International Association of Genocide Scholars, various UN special committees and commissions. That's why Israel hates the UN and wants to dismantle it. And of course, the Israeli organization B'Tselem, which also believes that their own country has carried out genocide in Gaza and said as much last summer when they put out a report on it. In fact, despite the so-called ceasefire in Gaza, Israel keeps slaughtering Palestinians. In fact, they just killed 12 more Palestinians in the Gaza Strip on Sunday alone. Gaza's civil defense said that one Israeli strike hit a tent sheltering displaced Palestinians in Jabalia, northern Gaza, killing at least 5 people. Another person was killed by Israeli army gunfire in Bet Lahia. And a separate strike hit Khan Yunis, southern Gaza, killing 5. Israel does what it typically does after these deadly strikes take place. They claim that they were targeting Hamas militants. Yes, I'm sure that there were plenty of Hamas militants in the tent encampment that Palestinian civilians were sheltering in. Of course, Israel failed to provide a shred of evidence to back up their claims, because why would they? They don't even need to. The US is gonna defend them no matter what. The Israeli military has also begun launching deadly attacks across Gaza, killing at least 601 Palestinians and wounding 1,607 since the ceasefire deal was signed. And that's according to the latest numbers from Gaza's health ministry, which account for bodies brought to hospitals and morgues. And for anyone who wants to throw cold water on that number, because it's being reported by Gaza's health ministry, let me just remind you that the IDF has confirmed the Palestinian death toll that has been reported by Gaza's health ministry. Oh yeah, also 8,000 bodies remain trapped under the rubble in Gaza. Cenk, back to you.
Yeah, so first let's talk about our lying media. I'm gonna give you a quote from Fox News, which is gives you a sense of how much deception there is in our media. They said in the middle of this AOC story, military experts and genocide researchers have debunked the allegation that Israel carried out a genocide against Palestinians during its self-defense war against Hamas terrorist organization. Now, that's not at all true. Overwhelming majority of genocide scholars say that it is a genocide. In fact, every non-Israeli related scholar says that it's a genocide, 86% of them overall. But our media, corporate media, usually lies in its framing. So when Hamas kills Israelis, they'll say the murdering terrorist slaughtered the innocent. When Israel does 70 times worse, they'll say, oh, collateral damage, they were hiding behind human shields, etc. But they don't normally just outright lie. Fox does. Just that what I just read to you is a complete fabrication. It's the opposite of what was true. So that's why sometimes this is an ironic point. I don't blame right-wing voters as much, because that's the slop they read, and they have no idea that Fox News is lying to them. They think that Israel was I don't even know that they know that there has been a 58-year occupation. They think the Palestinians just hate Jews so much for no reason at all, and every once in a while those vicious animals attack poor little victim Israel, because that's what Rupert Murdoch owned publications say to them 24/7. New York Post, Fox News, and all over the world. I don't know why Murdoch is obsessed with helping Israel and starting its wars. Maybe they have blackmail from 50 years ago on him, I don't know. But Murdoch always wants war, always lies, and always supports Israel. So now when you turn to what's the reality, by the way, because of, actually before I get to today, one other thing that Anna mentioned I want to build on, the United Nations. Every piece of propaganda you have heard against the United Nations in America actually comes from Israel. Why? As soon as the United Nations said, yes, Israel, you exist, they're like, okay, good, we don't need that stupid body anymore. Because then the United Nations said, well, you should be decent to the Palestinians. They're like, no, if you're gonna tell us to be decent and follow international law, then we hate the United Nations, and we want to make sure that American people hate the United Nations. We don't want the world working together. We want to destroy worldwide cooperation so that the only country that anyone listens to is Israel. So they have been doing this kind of propaganda in our lifetimes for about 50 years straight. Oh, the Muslims are the worst, United Nations is the worst, international law is bad, you should keep starting wars, they're good for you. A global war on terror, which is a global war on Israel's neighbors. So now, finally, to what they're doing today. So Anna mentioned that they're not abiding by the ceasefire in Gaza at all, an average of at least 5 people killed per day. What kind of ceasefire is this? Because the Israelis are giant liars, and they don't ever do what they said they would do. And I'm not saying that like in some sort of like generic way. No, over the last 2 years, every single ceasefire has been violated by Israel over and over and over again, repeatedly every day. Here, I'll give you an example from Lebanon. In 2024, they do a peace deal. And since then, that ceasefire, Hezbollah has fired 0 rockets into Israel. How many has Israel fired back? 2, 4? That would already be a violation and terrible. Over 1,000 rockets into Lebanon, because ceasefire to Israel means you stop fighting and I keep murdering you. They're still, and they were supposed to withdraw from southern Lebanon. They're not going to withdraw from southern Lebanon. They're never going to withdraw. They never withdraw from anywhere because this has nothing to do with self-defense. More land acquisition, more land acquisition. And finally, they have begun to annex the West Bank as we speak. Why? Because they were always going to take the West Bank and Gaza Strip. They've said it 1,000,000 times. We want greater Israel. That is Judea and Samaria. That is ours. We're going to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians who we view to be subhuman, and we're going to take that land for ourselves. And America, you have to pay for it. Otherwise, every American will be called an anti-Semite. So that's Israel's plan. And you're gonna see going forward that now that I've decoded it for you, you will see that that fits into that pattern 100%.
All right, before we go to break, you need to tell me about the controversy because I'm too busy like researching and producing the show that I'm not Googling myself. Like what's going on? I'm like super curious about it.
So I love what AOC said about the genocide there. So great credit to her. At the same conference, she was asked about should we defend Taiwan if China attacks? And she gave a terrible answer. And Anna and Brian Tyler Cohen were on Piers Morgan this morning. That has come out, and there's been some articles written about how Anna said that AOC gave a bad answer, which she did. And so Anna, I love that you do honesty no matter what. And so we can agree with AOC on Gaza and Israel, and we could disagree with her on Taiwan. Please, like what for me, Anna, what Democratic or left-leaning hosts and politicians have to do is please stop lying on behalf of Democrats. It doesn't actually help Democrats. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help anyone. Let's get great candidates, as you said on the show, Anna.
Right. I mean, look, when you provide cover for the weaknesses of any Democrat, whether it be AOC, a presidential candidate, doesn't matter. What you're doing is enabling mediocrity in certain areas where they need to strengthen their arguments and their knowledge, to be quite frank, because I think foreign policy is a weak spot for AOC. And so to not at least have a canned answer in regard to Taiwan as you are attending the Munich Security Conference, I think is a disastrous oversight, and she should be more prepared. That's the argument that I was making. And when we provide cover for politicians on our side, for lack of a better word, we only make them weaker. So we need to stop doing that. Okay, and that, by the way, goes for the right as well, obviously.
And I'll say one last quick thing. Look, I would have an answer for that immediately. Why? Because I already know what I think is the right thing to do and not to do. The reason I think AOC paused there for so long was she was calculating who is going to be mad at me for saying this or this or this. Stop calculating. Give us what you actually think. And then if we like it, we'll vote for you. And if we don't, we won't. But if you just keep calculating like those corporate robots, then you provide no alternative. And by the way, AOC, like she gets so upset and Bernie gets so upset if you ever criticize them. We're trying to help you. Like it doesn't help you at all to go, let me see, what does mainstream media want? What does the progressive base want? What does DSA want? No, just give us what you got. And you know what? Trust yourself, maybe we'll like it. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.